Now, if I said to you, a secret alien base in America, there's probably one location that comes to mind, and I bet you would say Area 51, which is situated in the southern area of the Nevada desert, which in itself is a whole episode that I will get into at some point, trust. But have you ever heard of Mount Hayes in Alaska? Well, in the 70s, at the height of the Cold War, the Americans and the Soviets were trying to find ways to defeat one another. How would you feel if I told you that they hired psychics to spy on the enemy, and one psychic in particular who was said to have found more than he bargained for in this 49th state? Now, welcome back, Spook Crew. If it's your first time here, welcome back to Spooky Arm Radio, where each week we dive deep into the shadows where spirits lurk and UFOs roam. And yeah, the mysteries await to be uncovered. Brace yourselves, as what you're about to explore might just haunt you. Let's get into it. In this week's video, like I said in the intro, we're going to delve into the mysteries of Alaska, and specifically one of the tallest peaks in the whole state, and that is Mount Hayes, which back in the 1970s had connections with UFOs, the Men in Black, and a secret government cover-up. Now, however, also in the area and the state of Alaska as a whole, there has been a number of strange disappearances which links with the missing 411 theory. So this is my first episode on YouTube with the missing 411. I did cover it a lot on my podcast. So for those of you that don't know, the missing 411 theory, especially in America and its national parks, is that something is taking people. There's like a huge number of people that go disappearing in the national parks under strange, mysterious circumstances. And there's I think it's an ex-police or ex-detective called David Politis. I'll link to some of his books or some of his videos in the show notes below, so you can check him out. Obviously, check out his theory; it's his original theory. I'm just talking about it. And yeah, he sort of has combed through thousands and thousands and thousands of missing persons cases in America's national parks, and he has sort of collated them and come up with a certain amount of criteria that sort of correlate between some of them. So like a lot of the time it happens around water. What are some of the others? It's been so long since I've done my research, because I wrote these so long ago. Some of these episodes, always around water. People tend to go missing out from under people's noses. So like, there's stories of children playing hide and seek, and they're there 1 second, and then they turn around, and they've gone. Search dogs, sniffer dogs can't pick up a scent or struggle to follow a scent. Strange weather often accompanies the search, so when they try to search for people, so it's just this big conspiracy, this big idea that people think UFOs, some people think Bigfoots, some other people think it's just people going missing. Or there's like theories of wild men, like wrong turn. Sorry, I keep looking down because my cat is just there. I feel like she's gonna jump up at some point.
A few moments later.
Cat is back. She won't leave me alone today. Lizzie. Lizzie. Yes. She can't live without me, this cat. But yeah, so that's the missing 411. Obviously, you can go back and listen to my podcast about it, or I'll link that in the show notes as well, or you can, go watch some videos on David Politis, or there's other YouTube channels like The Law Lodge is one that I've watched before, where he talks about similar sort of things. So I'll link all them below, and you can go have a little research for my next Missing 411 episode, so hopefully that's brought you up to speed. So that's where we are. So we're in Alaska. A lot of people go missing, which we're about to get into. So let's set the scene with a little bit of the history of a little history lesson of Alaska. So Alaska is America's 49th state and is in the most northwest part of the USA. And at 663,268 square miles in total area, Alaska is by far the largest state in the United States. Now, Alaska is more than twice the size of the second largest state, which is Texas. So a little fun fact for you there. And yeah, it is larger than the next three largest states. So Texas, California, and Montana combined. So you get the idea. It's fucking huge.
That's what she said.
Now, it's been estimated that around 16,000 people have gone missing in the last 20 years in Alaska alone, which is around 800 people per year. Now, which is crazy numbers. Yeah, and the topology of Alaska is incredible. I mean, given that it's so huge and has some incredible mountain ranges, Alaska is admirably referred to as the last frontier and the land of the midnight sun, because at some points of the year, obviously it's over the Arctic Circle, similar to places like Norway, where it's sunny. Well, not sunny, but the sun doesn't set for like a month. Or was it 3 months? Can't remember now. But yeah, it's an amazing place, basically. But it's really infamous for its incredibly craggy, high altitude summits, and yeah, rugged and wild terrain, as you might imagine. And if you've seen the landscape, it's not hard to understand how people's imaginations can run wild with the idea that a population of Bigfoot could be living in the wilderness, and could be very plausible that they could be living there. Also, just like with Area 51, which is situated in a remote location, the area around Mount Hayes and Alaska is known for glacial terrain, and the surrounding area is harsh and difficult to navigate, with dense forests, deep crevasses, and an almost constant cover of ice and snow at higher elevations. Now, the combination of geography and weather makes Mount Hayes challenging for climbers and explorers alike. It's also known for strange local legends from native Alaskan cultures who speak of various supernatural beings inhabiting the area, including Bigfoot-like creatures and spirits being tied to the land. The vast, largely unexplored wilderness adds a mystery that's often tied to the tales of cryptids and other phenomena. So you've already got, before we even get into the stories today, we've got an area that is so difficult to get to. Like, there's glaciers, there's forests, there's crevasses, there's tough weather. This could be a good place if you're the US government, to hide something. Now, I'm not saying they are, but they probably are. Same with Area 51. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. People can't get to it or find it really difficult to get to. It would be a good place to hide a secret alien base. And that brings us to our first story, which I find so creepy but also so believable at the same time. So picture this, like I sort of said in the intro, it's the 1970s and the Cold War is raging. And word reaches the Americans that the Russians have recruited psychics to spy on them. Crazy, right? Well, the Americans thought, if the Russians are doing it, fuck it, we're doing it. So Project Stargate was born. Now, Project Stargate is the collective umbrella name for the United States government-sponsored remote viewing program. This involved advanced psychic functioning and remote viewing experiments and programs that were undertaken for 20 years to create sort of a trainable and repeatable operation, and to see if it was possible, and to see if there was an accurate method of psychic spying for information gathering for the US, like military and intelligence agencies. Now, there was a famous man who took part in these experiments of psychic espionage, which sounds really cool, and his name was Pat Price. So, Pat Price joined the program after a chance encounter with a fellow Scientologist, so already off to a great start. And and working with maps and photographs provided to him by the CIA, um, Price claimed to have been able to retrieve information from facilities behind Soviet lines. He is probably best known for his sketches of cranes and gantries which appeared to conform to CIA intelligence photographs, and at the time the CIA took these claims seriously. Now, at this point, Pat was not even asked to look into remote viewing on his home turf. He was being asked to look behind enemy lines. Now, when one day Pat Price claims that he was called to something by something. Now, in this case, Pat Price was drawn to a mountain within the Alaskan Triangle, and again, that is a whole episode on its own. It's insane, which I will be covering at some point. But it's directly Mount Hayes is directly in the middle of the triangle and is around 14,000 feet tall. Like I say, surrounded by glaciers and snow passes, which make it difficult for people to hike to. Now, it's estimated fewer people have summited Mount Everest than Mount Hayes, which I thought was an interesting statistic. I mean, I'd never heard of the place before I was researching for here. But Price, anyway, was drawn to Mount Hayes, but more importantly, what he saw within the mountain. In the remote viewing session, he spoke about a hidden alien base deep within. He said he could see these humanoid creatures working alongside members of the American government, and they were experimenting on people and animals. Are these the people who go missing that are linked to the missing 411? Who knows? What do you think? Let me know below. But yeah, it's also said that people who get too close to the mountain or who are simply alone and in the wrong place at the right time go missing. Are these the people that end up inside the mountain? Now, despite some apparent successes, Stargate faced considerable skepticism, rightly so, and many in the intelligence community questioned the reliability and practical utility of remote viewing, pointing out that the program's success rate was inconsistent, and by the mid-1990s the CIA and other agencies conducted evaluations on the program, concluding that information provided by remote viewers was generally no more accurate than guesses or assumptions, and as a result, Stargate was officially terminated in 1995, and many of the findings were eventually declassified. However, there was still one last twist in this tale. Price was on his own, staying in a hotel in Las Vegas in 1975, and he would never see the light of day again. Pat Price reportedly had a heart attack one evening, and his body was taken away and disposed of by the government before his family had even been notified. Was he getting too close to information he shouldn't have known? It was reported that he had been told to keep his dealing with the CIA confidential, and that he was telling people in the Scientology congregation about what he saw. So, was he silenced? Did he get too close to an alien underground base, and the government had to silence him before it became another Area 51 with people knowing about it? Who knows, but certainly strange for sure. Now, moving swiftly on from that, moving from Project Stargate to one of aviation's biggest mysteries, and that is the disappearance of the C-54 Skymaster, which is often referred to as the Alaska Triangle's greatest aviation mystery. And yeah, it remains one of the most intriguing unsolved cases in US aviation history. Now, the incident occurred on January the 26th, 1950, when a US Air Force C-54 transport plane carrying 44 passengers and crew vanished without a trace while flying over Alaska. Now, despite extensive search efforts, neither the plane nor any wreckage has ever been found. Now, after departing from Anchorage, the C-54 was scheduled to make a stopover at Great Falls. However, shortly after takeoff, it encountered poor weather conditions, including freezing temperatures, heavy cloud cover, and high winds. Now, the last radio contact was routine and reported no distress or unusual events, giving no hint of what was to come. The disappearance of the C-54 triggered one of the largest search and rescue operations in US history, involving over 85 US and Canadian planes and covering more than 350,000 square miles of rugged Alaskan wilderness. The search continued for weeks, focusing on the suspected flight path and mountainous regions. I can't even get my words out properly. Between Anchorage and Great Falls, but no sign of the aircraft was ever found. The terrain, as we know, is extremely challenging, with dense forests, steep mountains, glacial crevasses, making it easy for a wreckage to remain hidden. Now, despite multiple rounds of searches, including newer attempts with advanced technology in later decades, the aircraft's fate has remained a mystery. So, what happened to this plane? Now, could 44 passengers just disappear, never to be seen again? Well, the unexplained disappearances of the C-54 in the Alaskan wilderness has fueled various theories, ranging from natural to supernatural explanations, as you might guess. Well, let's start with the plausible explanation, which is the weather. Even though it was said to be pretty clear on the night that the plane vanished, just a little bit of bad weather, but mostly clear, the large mountains can cause air currents which are unpredictable. Could this be an explanation? Did it fall out of the sky due to bad weather, certain air current, fall down a crevasse never to be found? Who knows? But some conspiracy theorists suggest that the plane might have been carrying classified materials or personnel, leading to deliberate cover-up efforts. However, obviously there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, and the passengers were primarily military personnel without any known classified cargo, but that is what the American government would say if they were trying to hide something, so we have to think about that. Now, with Mount Hayes and the possible secret alien base in the mountain and this plane going off radar, obviously people whispered in hushed tones about the possibility of extraterrestrial activity, and that could have been behind the missing plane. Now, it's time to put on your tinfoil hat, and I am actually going to go get my tinfoil hat, so bear with me. I will make it look like no time has passed with the magic of editing, so BRB. Lizzie's even joined me. She's like, what the fuck have you got on your head? Look at her staring at it. She can't get over it. She's in love with it, just like I am. Now, have you all got your tinfoil hats on? Because this is where it gets strange. Oh, Lizzie, you're famous. And the 4 people that watch me, but she loves my tinfoil hat. Looking good. Hopefully you got yours on, because you're going to need it for this, because it's like crazy idea. But that's what we're here for, I suppose, isn't it? Crazy ideas. Now, I did a bit of research myself over some websites and TV shows talking about similar sort of themes and similar ideas. But basically, what people think, again, it's crazy, could be an explanation, is that there are large spikes of the electromagnetic field throughout the state of Alaska. People suspect that if aliens are advanced and UFOs are advanced, that they would be able to manipulate the electromagnetic field. That's the idea, which would mean that in theory they would be able to create like a black hole or a wormhole highway, as it's called, that they can use to travel interdimensionally, and that maybe it opened just for a second. The UFO comes through, and this plane could have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, and gone through the wormhole, never to be seen again. And maybe they're just in a parallel universe or a different location entirely. But imagine they could be like in a different parallel universe, landing where they were supposed to land, and people were like, who are you? So it's, crazy idea. So you can see why I was like, get the tinfoil hats out. But there is, it's not evidence, but there's some, just listen. Apparently, there was a dull radio transmission picked up a couple of days after the plane went missing, that was suspected to be the missing plane and crew. Maybe they were there, just not in our universe. So they could have been trapped on the other side. It's sort of similar to what happens in Interstellar. You know, they could be trapped. They could have gone through the wormhole, and they are where they're supposed to be, just not in our universe. So crazy, but you know, we're here for it. Yeah, I just thought it was a really cool thing to pop in at the end. But what do you think? Is this all crazy people talking in their tinfoil hats, and conspiracy theorists with way too much time on their hands? Let me know in the comments. There's no judgments here. Like I'm on the fence. I don't know, but do we think that it's plausible? Pop it down in the comments. If you think I'm nuts, you think the story's crazy, that's all good. But yeah, I mean, I have my own crazy, and I mean crazy, theory as to where I think aliens come from and who they might be, but that's for another video. Now, have you had any extraterrestrial experiences? Send me a message or pop in the comments so others can hear what you've seen too. And that is a wrap, Spook Crew. Thanks for joining me on this journey beyond the ordinary and into the unknown. We will be wearing tinfoil hats in other episodes, so I'd make them up in advance so you can just stick them on when you're watching, because yeah, we're all here for the crazy theories. What do you think about is happening in Alaska and the Alaska Triangle, and what happened to that plane and those passengers? And do you think it's plausible that there's a secret military base? Lizzie just bit me on the arm. She just can't stay away from me. What do you think is inside Mount Hayes? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and remember, the island is always watching.